I welcome every one of us to this evening conversation as usual. As you all know, you are tuned in to Njenje Media TV. Welcome once more to the State of the Nation series, organized by Njenje Media TV. Njenje Media TV is part of the Njenje Media Group. This series is part of the drive to deepen the conversations around good governance and the leadership question to hold leaders and opinion molders to account. This week, I have the privilege of having a man you all know very well. This is a weekly series. Our guests are selected across various strata of the society, which may include, but not limited to, politics, business leaders, community leaders, religious leaders, community mobilizers, and many more. My guest today is no other person than Mazi Samuel Ifanyechukwu Ohuabunwa, OFR. He is a pharmacist by profession, a politician by choice, and also a business executive. He is the founder and former CEO of NIMET Pharmaceutical. He was the former president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria and currently an aspirant for the president and the highest office in Nigeria under the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, you are welcome to this program.
Thank you so much, the Junior Mazi, at this event today. It's my pleasure to be on this platform with you again. It's always a great pleasure.
Okay, let's kick the ball rolling. Now, for housekeeping rules, every one of you who are in this meeting is muted. At the end of this interview and conversation, there will be time for you to ask your questions. Meanwhile, the comment section is open for you to use. You can put in your questions there if you so wish. Your questions will be taken from there, as well as there might be opportunity for you to also ask your question visually. Now, let's get the ball rolling. Now, Mazi Ohuabunwa, I would ask, and I will start this way. Why do you feel Nigerians should elect you as their president come 2023?
Thank you, Mazi Ezoke. I believe that there is a man for every season. I believe that there are people who hold the solution to every problem. Every problem has a solution. And once in a while, if that solution is found, then the problem will be resolved. I have watched Nigeria over many years plunder, slaughter, and dance around in a conundrum. And I'm just wondering what is our problem? Much more so the issues that are in contention routine, issues of poor economy, issue of joblessness, issue of poverty, corruption, injustice, inequity, issues of insecurity. These are issues which one had expected that Nigerian leadership, Nigerian government should be able to provide some minimum expectations for our people. But if after 61 years, we have remained a third world country, we have remained at the best an underdeveloped nation that has become today the poverty capital of the world, and where we are living like cannibals in Nigeria, literally eating each other. And we have become chronically uncompetitive, both domestically and globally. It therefore calls for somebody who has what it takes to move Nigeria from a poor producing, poor performing country to a high productivity, wealth creating country, a country that can meet the needs of its people, citizens, and be able to contribute to the welfare of the world. So my reasoning is that I have been trained from the private sector point of view, where you have competence as a criteria for ascending the ladder in the private sector, and where you are taught and where you practice the issues of competence, issues of being able to have a vision for every project, every undertaking that you are participating in, and where you understand that the reward for hard work is even more work. So my thinking is that I have the competence, as shown by the fact that I rose from being a first level employee in a multinational, and I rose to become chairman and CEO over a short 15 years. That's a sign of competence. And there are many other things I have done. I also believe that I have the character and integrity that is critical to lead. Because if you've been chairman of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, president of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, chairman of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria Ikeja, president of Nigeria American Chamber of Commerce, those organizations will let you lead them if your integrity was in question. So I think I have the integrity. I also have the courage that is required to take the right decisions about our country. Today, I'm the first man from the Southeast to announce my candidacy as a presidential hopeful. I'm also one of those that have volunteered to run on the platform of PDP. And I have made my views known as to what I need to do for our country to bring solution to set this country free from itself. So set the Igbo community, amongst others, free, like the Yoruba community, the Hausa community, and other communities in Nigeria, so that they can soar and flourish instead of being hampered and constrained into the kind of arrangement that we have. So I'm saying, my friend, that I have the competence, I have the courage, the character, and I have the vision to change Nigerian situation, which, as you will agree with me, we've had series of leadership over many years, and rather than move forward, we seem to be moving backwards. I want to come and change that narrative, bringing my private sector training and my understanding of how the public sector also works, even from the side of playing advisory, advocacy roles all these years. So these are my reasoning to think that I will offer a good candidate to be in the office of the president of Nigeria.
Now, there are many people who will say, you bring an intimidating CV from the private sector. However, then they would argue, what is your political exposure? Is it enough to win the presidency of Nigeria on the altar of what you are bringing in from the private sector? Are they things that you've done within the political sphere that you think could help what you are trying to achieve?
Very well. I have been a political player. For example, I joined the PDP way back in the 90s, almost at its early inception, along with my brothers. I have been a member of the party at my local levels, my local government, my ward, my state, and also nationally. And it is this participation in the political process that gave me the first job in 1999 to become chairman of the Abia Polytechnic Governing Board. Thereafter, I became the chairman of the Abia University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital. I worked to move its old location of the hospital that had been 40 years in the old general hospital. It was during my tenure that we began the movement into a new site. At the federal level, because of my participation in the political activities, in thought leadership, in advisory, in advocacy, in guidance and strategy development. I've served on the board of Nigerian Manpower Board. I've been on the board of National Institute for Social and Economic Development. I have been on the board of the National Health Insurance. I've served in the national, I was a pioneer member of the Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative Board. I've had hands-on opportunity to run the presidential committee on subsidy, reinvestment, and employment culture, P. I've been in several presidential task forces. I've been a member of the Presidential Advisory Council. I've advised the president. I've advised ministers. I've been in ministerial councils, in presidential councils. So I understand how the private sector, how the public sector runs, haven't related to the private sector. As chairman of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, we have a constant dialogue. We have inter-ministerial committees. We have joint committees between the private and public sector in our thematic groups dealing with the different issues in the public sector. So I believe that those experiences are sufficient, because what it takes to run a government is an understanding of what the leadership, application of leadership qualities. Also, ability to understand how you can put this, how you can apply the leadership skills, the management skills into governance. And governance is dealing with people. And I've dealt with them from their different ethnic diversities, both in the companies that I have run, both in the businesses that I have set, and in these multidimensional groups that I have belonged to, private-public partnerships. As I speak to you, I'm the chairman of the Private-Public Partnership Stroke Investment Development Council of Abia State. And all we do is interact with the public and private. So I think that the experience I've garnered, plus the opportunity to be accountable, which is what you learn from the private sector, to account for every resource that you're giving, both to your board and to the shareholders on a regular basis. The ability to show results and show return on every single investment opportunity you have. When you add that to my understanding of how to run businesses and to run groups, I don't think there's anything I lack in terms of running a government. Again, like I said, I've been involved, but from the behind the scene. As you well know, in a team, even if it's football team, you see 11 people playing on the field. There are about 30 others who are not playing, but they are part of the team. So I've been part of the teams from the time of Babangida came to power, through Abacha, through Shonekon, through Obasanjo, through Jonathan Yaradua. I have served in committees that are related to government agencies and understand how government runs. The only thing I think I'm lacking is perhaps the opportunity to do some of the negative things people do or are forced to do or compelled to do when they have executive power. Some people become victims of that. I haven't had the opportunity of becoming any such victim.
Okay, you've railed out your involvement even during the military era up to this date. Now, these are commendable and immense achievements. Having said that, many will say, as the youths of today will say, and they argue, they need a younger president. Okay, I do not know what has just happened there, but if you're still here, can you hear
I'm
me?
here.
Oh, okay. Now, many will say that they need a younger president. Do you do you think that is an argument that would be coming against you in your quest to become the president of Nigeria?
Well, I can understand people who make such request. It's understandable, especially seeing the disappointments they've had from some of the older people who are in government, even if at this time. So I understand the cry for younger people, but certainly in Nigeria, we really have not had, scarcity of young people in power. From the military periods I have spoken about, the Gowons, and all the people that ruled our country till of late, they have not been very old people only. We've had the young, we have the much older people. But you see, leadership of a great country, leadership all over the world, is not a matter of age, because chronological age is one thing. If you go to the hospital today, you go to the wards, emergency wards, you see children, you see young people in emergency, some needing oxygen and some needing all kinds of emergency help. So age is not all there is. You need to have good health, and good health is not a preserve of any demographic group. Number two, you need to have experience. Experience is important in leadership, in managing a multi-ethnic, diverse nation as ours. You must have had experience where you have touched the base, you've lived and related to them, both as a pharmaceutical sales rep, both as marketing manager, both in my job as president of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. I've been to every state capital. I have related to every group of Nigerian. That does not happen easily. The length of time you've spent around also affects the number of people that you know. But what is important for me is that leadership requires somebody that has good leadership skills and who has a sound body, sound mind, and sound spirit, because you need a balanced man to be able to run a government and to be able to run a big institution like the country called Nigeria. So those who talk about youth have a right, but I don't think it is a sufficiently disqualifying. Some of the best presidents in the country, in the world, are not exactly young in age. We have Biden, we have had Trump before him, we have other presidents in other parts of the world. Some are 80 years old, some are 82, some are 92, but age is not just age. So that's the point I'm making. I appreciate that one would want younger people. And for sure, if this country's problem had been solved the way I am speaking about, if we had become a country that is globally competitive, a country that can feed itself, a country that can secure its people, a country that can make sure that the people have good education and good health care, I wouldn't be here. One of my motivations for being here is to be sure that the country which I enjoyed as a young person, I finished school in June. In July, I started work. 3 months after that work, I got a car loan. I used the car loan to do my youth service and internship. I started working in Pfizer. 3 months, I joined Pfizer. Pfizer gave me a brand new car as my official car. I was a young man, 3-year-old postgraduate. I had 2 cars in my garage. I funded my wedding. I took care of myself and my parents. But my children are not in the position to do the same, not talk about my grandchildren. And my point is that if we can take Nigeria to the first world that is globally competitive, that can meet itself and stand at par with nations that were at the same level with, the Singapores, the South Koreas, can't we make Nigeria that same country where the young people don't have to suffer from level of unemployment, they don't have to be subjected to dehumanization or being paid starvation wages? A man spends 4 to 6 years in the university, he comes, somebody pays him 30,000 naira, 40,000 naira because he has no choice. So my real motivation is to get Nigeria to function where there will be opportunities for economic empowerment, economic expression, and the fulfillment of the inventiveness and innovation of young people. So I am going to be a president for young people, and I'm going to work with young people. I'll open it up for them to use their creativity. Leadership of a nation is not a 100-meter dash. So I think I'll have the energy and, more importantly, the leadership skills to direct and harness Nigerians young and old, female and male, so that we can together build our country.
Thank you very much for that brilliant answer. Now, it brings me to while you were talking, you talked about sound health and sound mind. You know, everyone watching me now who is in Nigeria would understand where I'm going to. Are you telling Nigerians on this platform that if elected the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, that you will not be seeking medical care abroad, as was promised to us by the current government and obviously flouted all the promises made? Are you on this platform saying, if
For
elected
me
the
to work for
president,
Pfizer and NIMED for 33 years, one of the things that training gave me is integrity. You say what you mean and mean what you say. I've not learned double speak and lack of faithfulness to commitment. My word is my bond. People who know me know that. For me, healthcare is something that I believe that my first job in this country, being a healthcare professional myself, is to create an enabling environment. We have very competent healthcare professionals. We're even beginning to build some well-equipped healthcare opportunities. But because of the funding of healthcare in our country, it is not a profitable business. Healthcare is one of the biggest businesses in the developed climes, and it's a major contributor to GDP. In our country, healthcare contributes very little to GDP because of the way the sector is strangulated. So with my knowledge of understanding of business, being a businessman, being in healthcare business, be also a professional, I will unleash the creative abilities of our healthcare professionals. I will open our country for investment because, as I said, my principal economic work will be investment drive. I'm going to be the Minister for Investment, and I'm going to create an environment to make Nigeria an investment hub. Part of that investment will be in the healthcare, will be in education, will be infrastructure, will be in social development, and we will develop our country and our healthcare system that you don't need to go anywhere, not just me, but everybody else. I think today we have every kind of specialty in medicine. The only thing that we need is to create an opportunity for the equipment, the technology that is required to match this expertise. And we will start doing medical tourism. That is in tourism. People are going to come here for healthcare as they came in the 60s and 70s when they went to university, college, hospital. My promise is that as I will not seek medical help outside because I'll have it already available in our country.
Okay, I think the second part of your question answered, second part of your answer answered my question now. Then we'll move on. Now, I can see, because we've been following you keenly on your social media engagement, you have recently been seen consulting, moving around Nigeria, meeting leaders, regional leaders. The question then is, are you doing that to campaign for a president of Southeast extraction, or are you doing that to promote as many will argue, that at this time, 2023, that it is the turn of the Southeast to produce the presidents? And again, what are these leaders that you've been meeting? What are they telling you as you meet them?
Well, thank you, Mazi Ezuke. I want to be president of Nigeria. And that therefore makes it mandatory for me to go around the whole country and meet with political leaders, community leaders, traditional leaders, youth leaders, women leaders, market leaders, community, and all groups of people. Because I think that one of the things I will do is to mobilize all Nigerians to bring out their best so that together we can build a nation. Because my drive, if God grants us the opportunity to become president, my drive is productive, the economic productivity. And people cannot produce economically if they are not in good frame of mind. They must be motivated. They must feel good about themselves, about their country, about their leaders, to be able to bring the best out of them. So my consultation is part of giving hope. A lot of the elders that I meet say they've lost hope. I meet a lot of young people, they say are waiting to emigrate. So between the young and the old, there is so much disillusionment in the country. Part of the new Nigeria message, what I call the gospel of new Nigeria, is to say there's hope. for a new country that will approximate that dream that has fallen, dream we have failed to realize, the dream we dreamt in 1960, to have a country that will be not only the leader of Africa, not only the pride of the Black man, but a major global player. That country has failed to be realized. So I am sharing this with old, young, and not too old. And each person has shown me love and understanding. They say they're hearing something different. They are not used to hearing people speak this way, because I speak about our issues and I also give the solutions or suggested solutions to those issues. So I'm not campaigning because it's the turn of the Southeast. No, I'm campaigning because I feel competent and I feel motivated, energized to be able to provide, offer myself for service as president of Nigeria to provide that solution we seem to have lacked. And when I meet these guys and share my vision that I want to move Nigeria from the stagnation of a third world to a first world nation that is globally competitive, and while building a Nigeria that works for everybody, there's excitement and I get encouragement, north, south, east, west. They ask, where have you been? Why are you coming now? I say, well, there's time for everybody. This is my time.
So thank you. Obviously, what you're telling us is that all the meetings you've been doing, you basically have secured their support across the nation. Is that correct?
Correct. Very, very correct.
Okay. Now, in recent time, in the news, we all had it. Recently there was this presidential aspirant in the ruling party, the APC, and he was quoted as saying that he will match another aspirant who is believed to have a lot of money. And in his words, he says, I'm going to match him dollar for dollar and naira for naira. Now, the question to you, sir, is does it mean that the presidency of Nigeria is for the highest bidder? And if that be the case, do you think you can match them naira for naira in order to get the nomination of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, for their presidential ticket?
As a trained marketing person in my career, rising from a sales rep to become sales manager, marketing director, founding director, I'm a marketing professional. And one of the things you do is you decide in which area to compete the market. Sometimes you want to compete on quality. Sometimes you want to cost on cost leadership. Sometimes you want to cost on pricing. Sometimes you want to cost on customer service. There are many areas you want to compete. One of my areas is not money for money, pocket for pocket. I don't belong to that because I'm a private sector person. I have not served in a position that I have had opportunity to earn money I couldn't account for, or the money that was not given to me as a matter of right. That is the discipline of private sector. You work for shareholders and you are accountable to those shareholders. They can sack you as chairman of the board or even director at any board meeting. You are beholden to them. So I do not have that kind of resource to compete for money. As a matter of fact, if I have some of those resources, I probably deploy them to setting up industrial estates, cottage industries across the country, rather than spend them trying to bribe people to give me opportunity to come and serve them. I'm coming to serve Nigeria. I'm going to make sacrifices all around, including my own personal comfort and needs. And therefore, while it is a privilege and it's a culture for people to campaign, I will campaign on the fact that I have an idea, I have a vision. I am the first president that I know that has a vision, that has produced a document, not a manifesto. I have my new Nigeria group vision, I have my mission, I have the corporate values that we are going to propose, with which is going to redefine Nigeria. We have the core issues we're going to be dealing with. This is my vision. It's not a manifesto. I wrote it out of motivation. So it's a new idea, and I'm competing on the basis of ideology. Nigerians do not have any ideology when they come to governance, so that's where anything goes. I am coming with ideology. I'm coming with experience as a leader, as a manager, both leader and manager. I'm coming as experience as a nation builder, as somebody who can unify our country, who understands how the foundation of this nation, who is determined to rearrange, rejig, and work with others to recreate a nation that will work for everybody. I am not coming from the point of view of being loaded financially. But that's not that I don't have friends, I don't have family who support me to do the minimum. That's the minimum required to run for a presidential election. I have friends, I have brothers who support me to do the logistics, to do the promotion, the adverts, to be sure that we move supporters from one point to the other. And those who have to stay in hotels will have to be in hotels. Those are normal things you need to do in running operation. So if people reason they want to come to power is that they have money to spend or to bribe people, I don't belong in the same class, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Now, having gone through your CV, the full CV, the abridged CV, if I began to read out your CV here, we might have to spend another hour listening to the CV. I'll spare my listeners that. Now, I have the following. You were the chairman of Abia Polytechnic Governing Board, chairman of Abia State University Teaching Hospital Board, and currently serves as the chairman of Abia Public Private Partnership and Investment Promotion Council. You were also actively involved in fashioning out Vision 2010 and Vision 2020 strategic document. It appears you have served the nation in many ways. My question to you, sir, what drives you?
Thank you, Mazi Ezoke. My drive is to see Nigeria be globally competitive, be like the best of the world. In 1986, I was in the United Kingdom, in the USA, and I attended a meeting of sales managers from the Pfizer world. We are 106. At the end of the conference, I was nominated the best participating sales manager out of 106 managers. That attracted a lot of interest around me. And people began to ask me, which school did you go to? Which university? I said, I went to University of Ife. They say, where is that one? I said, in Nigeria. They say, wow, do you have good universities in Nigeria? I said, yes. I began to mention them. They say, that means there are very smart people like you in Nigeria. I said, we have millions of them. Then they asked me, one other asked me, then why is your country the way it is? The things we hear about your country does not reflect that you have smart people, you have good schools. I couldn't answer that question, but that changed me. I came back from the United States in '86. I immediately arrived at Murtala Muhammad Airport. I could see the difference immediately between my airport, Ebeme, and JFK that I left. I went into the toilet. I saw the difference between the toilet in the airport there and the toilet here. I came out to the place they were receiving us in immigration, customs. I looked like I was passing through a tunnel, whereas I had a large space, well spaced out place to be received by government officials at the other end. So from that date, I began to say, what can I do, Sam? What can you do to make Nigeria be like America? What can you do? I see the way Americans treat themselves. I'm driving on the streets of America, the streets of United Kingdom, the streets of Switzerland, Denmark. I see the streets swept. I see the streets clean. I see buses clean. I see taxis clean. I see people on rail lines, people on transmodal, on rail taxi. You want a taxi. You're not arguing with anybody. There's a meter, and they just meter you. When you get to the place, you pay your bill. And I'm saying, why can't these things happen in our country? This is what has driven me. I've been in 60 countries in my lifetime, and each country I went, consciously or unconsciously, I began to measure the difference between that country and my own country. And I always come down unhappy. I go to international conferences, and they're showing graphs, doing analysis, indices of human development index. They are looking at corruption perception index. They are looking at quality of life index. They are looking at life expectancy index, maternal mortality, infant mortality. My country is at the bottom. And I'm saying, what did we do wrong? Well, we created, less than the other people. And so that's what took me to advocacy. I began to advocate. And that took me to the leadership of the position you were talking about, chairman of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, president of NECA, chairman of MAN. It was, how do we get Nigeria to work? But I thought that the role to it was to go through advocacy, some bit of activism, and and those methods, advisory positions. But I have found that after all the advice, after all the pontification, development of strategy, Vision 2010, Vision 2020, after writing books on Nigeria and economy, it came clear to me that the problem with Nigeria is not ideas, it's the inability to have the execution power, inability to take decisions and see those decisions through, inability to face problems, understand how economy can grow, how you can build unity in diversity, how you can motivate people to be the best of what they can be, how you can be selfless and work for the best of the community and not for your own self. I have been Assistant Secretary General of my community for 6 years, Secretary General for 6 years, President General for 6 years, 18 years unbroken. I served my community, Aruchukwu, in that position. So everywhere I have been, I have always given of myself. So desire to serve, desire to produce a better environment, desire to live where I'm passing better than I met it. This is what is driving me. And I want a country that will be like the country I met when I came to this earth and that my parents left for me. I want to leave that country for my own children and grandchildren, that kind of country.
So from your submission here, it appears you would agree with the late sage, late Professor Chinua Achebe, who said that the problem of Nigeria is squarely and only leadership. Would you agree with that?
I agree with him in total, completely. My analysis and my experience in life is, in my book I wrote in 2010, I had a chapter. The chapter was the followership that deserved the leadership, where I was making a case that in the Nigerian conundrum, we have issues with leadership, we have issues with followership, because they say a people deserve their leader. So I was making a case that it's true that the people deserve their leader. But when you have chicken and egg, which one comes first? And my understanding is that water flows from the top down. Gravity goes from up down. And anointing, as they say in my church, goes from the head down to the loins. So the head is the issue. Leadership is the issue. In my little experience, the leadership position I've held, I have found that Nigerians are good people. They are hardworking, they are ebullient, they are ready to follow the leader if the leader knows where he's going. But it looks like sometimes we have a few good leaders that know where they're going and they take us forward. Some others come and take us 5, 10 steps backwards. So net, we are backwards. So leadership is the issue, sir. I agree with Chinua completely.
Okay, now let me come back to, because let's stay a little bit in the realm of leadership. Let me come back to the Vision 2020. What happened to that Vision 2020 document? Obviously, we're in 2022 now. Did that Vision 2020 work? What happened?
The vision was completed, unlike Vision 2010, which we finished. Abacha died, immediately we finished it, so nobody could implement it. We passed it on to President Obasanjo. President Obasanjo didn't like the Vision 2010 because Abacha's picture was in the document, so he just threw it away and decided to develop a medium-term strategy needs, which our brother and incoming governor, Soludo, was the architect, and we all worked with him to pursue needs, which was a short-term, medium-term growth development strategy. But we wanted a long-term vision. So when Yaradua came, we came back to him and said, Yaradua, we were doing Vision 2010, nobody has agreed to implement it. It's okay, we're already in 2007. So 2010 was next door. We decided now to do a longer term, which is 2020. We did that vision with Yaradua. Halfway again, Yaradua died. We had to go to Jonathan. Luckily, Jonathan was willing to accept that we'll continue. And we'll finish the vision, though behind time, because of course the death of President Yaradua delayed things. But we eventually produced a document. But what was the issue with Vision 2020 was that this document was supposed to be owned by Nigerians, But Nigerian government do not understand how to mobilize people to fall behind a vision. They made it like a private sector document. I mean, a public sector. So anybody that knew anything about Vision 2020 were the people in the private sector. We continue to talk about the ability to sell it to the rest of the country. It didn't happen. We had timelines, a detailed program of what to do year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. They were followed in the bridge. Nobody was willing to invest the time or the resources to make sure that that vision worked. And that taught me something, Mazi is okay. Is that really, if a president wants to develop a vision for a country, he has to do it himself, because nobody can develop a vision for you. The way we saw Vision 2020, we who developed it had a slightly different concept from the government who gave it to. In fact, the day the vision was being launched in Transcorp Hilton, myself and my colleagues were a little bit embarrassed that the way it was being defined by government was not exactly what we, there were some nuances, subtle differences between what the government was speaking and what we had in mind. So vision is what you see about the future. It must be owned by the leadership. Vision 2020 was not owned by the leadership. It was seen as a vision developed by people, this new Nigeria Economic Summit Group and their people, and we are begging government, please implement this vision. So it was implemented in the bridge and was limited more to the public sector. The private sector was not properly recruited, because a vision ought to be all-inclusive. Every segment of society, public, private, non-governmental, had a role to play. The women had role, the youth had role, the churches, the religious bodies. These things encapsulate a nation. The division of a nation is something that mobilizes everybody driving in one direction, knowing when we are going to stop at one junction, at one train stop, and when we are going to move to the next train stop. That's how a vision ought to run, especially if it's driven in corporate organization. But we didn't drive it in Nigeria that way. That's why the vision achieved some role. If you remember, there was a time Nigeria was almost becoming, Nigeria became a leading economy in the world and was almost becoming 22nd leading economy in the world. What we were looking for is to achieve an economy that was going to be the 20th, among the 20th biggest economies in terms of productivity. But it was not fully achieved, but some progress was made.
So it will be fair to say that Vision 2020, which you were part of, wasn't entirely a success in Nigeria as a result of leadership and its implementation. Would that be a fair assessment?
That is a complete, fair, and very, very objective assessment. Well done in terms of a theoretical base. All the people that were in that Vision 20 invested time, many, many months, if not nearly a year. We did the articulation, we did the time frame, we did the implementation plan. But government, as usual, that was supposed to drive it, didn't drive it effectively.
Now, let me use the Vision 2020 as a cornerstone for the next round of the conversation, which is, do you have anything for now to say, like Vision 2040? You know, let me just pluck it off from anywhere. Vision 2040. And that would then bring me to your, what you call your core values and guiding philosophies. And therein, in your document, you have knowledge, industry, integrity, patriotism, justice, freedom, liberty, and godliness. How then would Nigerians who are sitting behind their tellies watching us now, how would you explain these guiding principles to them to encapsulate that which you are bringing to the table, and at the same time, what is that vision you envisage for Nigeria if you take over as a president in the next 10 years?
My vision, and that is the overriding consuming vision, is to move Nigeria from a third world to a first world. I like to be the Lee Kuan Yew of Nigeria. That's my primary vision. We must become a developed economy. We have tarried enough in this classification of underdeveloped, developing, less developed, whatever categorization is the same category where we have low GDP growth, low per capita income, low quality of life, low life expectancy, low energy consumption, both in terms of energy for the body and energy for industry. We have we have infrastructure deficit, we have environmental decay, we have, over concentration on a single source of income, we have poor tax to GDP rate. Everything that a developed world has, we want to be that, because in being that, in our minds to become a first world, we shall pass the junction of misery, life, a collective national misery. We will upgrade our education, because the education you need to produce the kind of quality of manpower to deliver a first world is not what we're doing now. So we need to upgrade every element. That's why a vision is important, because when you determine where you're going, it affects what else you do, because the question is, here we are. This is where we want to be. How do we get there? And that's how you now do your implementation plan. So shall we become a first world in the next, by 2040? That will be determined by our planning as a nation. My vision is to take Nigeria in that direction. But shall we become it? It will then require our agreement. If we come to power, we have already done what we think we can do in the next 5 years, next 10 years. But at the end of the day, it's when you are sitting on the wheel that you understand all the parts and how healthy the car is. You might say, I'm going to run at 120 kilometers per hour. And when you arrive and find that you can only do 50, then you know that you have to change some of your calculations. So my point is this: our vision doesn't change. This is where we're going to go. We may arrive here today or tomorrow, depending on if everything else is right. As long as we are focused and we're doing what we say we're going to do year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. So that is my vision. Now, how am I going to sell these core values? The core values are going to be sold through a very extensive enlightenment campaign throughout Nigeria. We are going to, right now, if you go to the 36 states of Nigeria and ask for New Nigeria Group, you're going to see people who already sold on these core values. They will tell you that we're trying to build a knowledgeable nation, where Nigeria will be at the frontier, the cutting edge of new knowledge, both knowledge that is technological driven and knowledge that is scholastically driven. So we're going to be on both sides. We're going to be an industrious nation, which means that everything we are doing, we are thinking of how do we create value? How do we solve problems? How do we, fill needs? How do we want to stop being a consuming nation to a producing nation? How can we add value to every process, every raw material, every product we make in Nigeria, so that it can compete with the rest of the world and yield us more income? So all that will be through enlightenment and through modeling, because Nigeria, we have found that part of the problem is that we have very few models. People are hypocritical. They say something in the front of the television, and the moment the lights are out, they are doing a completely different thing. Of course, it's not only here. We've seen what is going on in the UK right now about the Partygate, but it's more a problem with us in Africa, where we're not accountable. I mean, the searchlight for accountability, demand for accountability from public officers is not as high as in the UK. I mean, who would have known if anybody had a party anywhere? But because they have a more transparent system, we could find that. So these are the things we're going to do: modeling, enlightenment, and from primary school to secondary school to university, there are going to be courses where we will all be teaching this if we adopt it. Because what I'm going to do as president is not to enforce anything on Nigerians. I'm not going to force my will. These are my thoughts, and I'm going to bring it on the table. If Nigerians agree that this is what we want to do, then we all agree how to. Mine is to provide the leadership to show this is the direction I want us to go. This is what I want us to do. But we all have to agree, because if you impose anything on people, as good as it can be, you may have difficulty with getting implementation. So I believe in consulting, I believe in consensus building, I believe in convincing people that this is something we ought to do. So that's what we're going to do about our vision, implementation plan, and also the selling of the core values that would define the new Nigeria. You know, our proposition is a new Nigeria. And what we're saying is that these core values, these guiding factors are the things that if you see a new Nigeria, these are the things you're going to see in that country that defines it.
Okay, thank you very much for those interventions. We'll be rounding up shortly. And for those of us in this meeting, if you do have your questions, you can, if you do have questions, you can raise your hand. You'll be given 30 seconds to make your intervention, to ask your question. These questions will be collated. He would have the opportunity to speak to your question with his closing remarks. Therefore, if you would have questions, kindly use the digital hand and raise your hand so that you'll be called upon. Now, my last question here before I let you go is Nigeria is bewildered with a lot of insecurity, be it north, west, east, south, everywhere. In the northeast, obviously, we know the gang called Boko Haram. We go to the northwest, we have the bandits that Abuja Kaduna Road has become a place no one ventures to go into. Some states in there are virtually overrun. Come down to the southeast, suddenly we have the unknown gunmen and other vices within the region. Question then is, if you are elected the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, how would you deal with these insecurities across the nation?
Thank you, Mazezuke. Insecurity is a product of many things. And what I would do first is to deal with the issues in a cascading manner. First is that I'm going to buy security. I'm going to buy security service. Is the service intelligence? Is it technology? Is it armored vehicle?
Sorry, but the current government are already doing all this.
Are they buying intelligence? How much intelligence do we have, sir? What is the technology they are using? They are using the technology I'm going to use is 21st century technology, where I can stay here and send a powered armored drone to take out somebody from Sambisa Forest. I don't need to be there. I don't need to send troops there. That is what we need to do, because you do not trust even the integrity of armed forces right now. Their morale is so low that you are not sure who is going to the front and who is staying behind. So I'm going to minimize depending on the foot soldiers. I'm going to depend more on technology to take out these guys wherever they are. First, get intelligence, proper intelligence, use both human intelligence and using technology intelligence. With satellite technology, you can find anybody where he's located in this globe. Even if it's underground, you might find him. You might even trace his DNA using current technology. So I will use technology to find where these guys are. And if I do not trust that my soldiers and military men are motivated to put their lives at risk, I'm going to send armored unmanned vehicles and equipment in drones to take them out quickly, secure the nation. Then I'll go back to do two other things. First is to revamp the architecture, the security architecture, put the right people in the right places, retrain, reinvigorate, revamp, motivate, recompensate, create a welfare scheme that the Nigerian soldier will know that if he died fighting for our country, his services will be recognized, his family will be put in good shape. I'll put all of them on life insurance policies that cover military military death or military injuries, so that they don't have to depend on government. The third is deal with the issue of injustice. Injustice breeds insecurity. And I can bet you, JNJ TV, that part of the insecurity we have in Nigeria is due to injustice. Some are real, some are perceived. So I'm going to call Nigerians together, the owners of the country, as I would do in my village, as my Eze would do, if they suddenly find that women are being raped, if they find that houses are being broken, things that didn't used to happen before, they'll call a village meeting. And they'll come to the meeting and say, my people, this is not what our state, our community used to be. What has happened to us? Have we offended our gods, or is the problem with us? And they sit down there and sort out their problem. Nigeria needs to call themselves together and find out where they went wrong in relating to each other, in caring for the poor, in caring for the needy, in sharing the resources of the nation, so much so that some people are feeling maligned, misjudged, maltreated, and all forms of negative emotions that can lead to insecurity. Those are the three things I'm going to do quickly so that I can get a stable security situation for my country.
Thank you very much. That's a very fine place to anchor it before I take the questions. It's been a one-on-one conversation with my guest, Mazi Samuel Ifanyuchukwu Ohuabunwa. Let me quickly take two questions from one, Chigozie Okeke, please, if you may unmute yourself, and you have 30 seconds to ask your question. Kindly unmute yourself. Make sure that your background is in order. Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mazi Ohuabunwa, and good afternoon, everyone. I have a pertinent question. I wanted to know, how are you going to address the fact that the resource, crude oil, has been seen as a national cake in Nigeria? However, there are other solid minerals in other parts of the country, like in the north, that there isn't clarity on how this resource is being shared.
Thank you very much. That's
how are you going to address that?
Thank you very much.
You as president.
So I take the second question. Fred Nwankwo, please kindly unmute yourself and you have your 30 seconds. Fred Nwankwo, please.
Hello, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Mazi Ohuabunwa, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I wanted to bring up the fact that 2023 is coming. You're one of the candidates that people believe is very qualified, but there is a slew of other candidates that are really qualified. My question is, in trying to build one Nigeria, Vice President Osinbajo since 2015 has been talking about the new tribe. How can you and all the other good qualified candidates come together and sit down around that concept of a new tribe, and regardless of who loses this election, be able to bring them together, the person who wins being able to bring all those good heads together?
Thank you very much.
Regardless of their political parties.
Thank you. So now we are back to you. Now this will be a 2-in-1. Your parting statement and obviously answering the questions posed to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Junior Mazi Ezoke, for doing a brilliant job of getting this community meeting this evening. I'm so proud to see all the great people. I'm seeing my elders. I'm seeing Mazi Bruno Nwankwo. I'm seeing Prosper. So many people on this, and it's for me, it's great pleasure to have this opportunity to, even though I can't touch all these guys, but at least can feel their love and their concern for what is happening in our country. I believe that the questions they were asked were, first is oil. We are going to change the story of Nigeria. We're going to change the narrative. Nigeria has become a slave to one item, whereas the country is blessed with many resources, solid minerals, gaseous minerals, liquid minerals. Each state has the ability to be sustained by the minerals available in its jurisdiction, in its territory. Zamfara can live on the gold and pay enough tax and royalties to the federal government and be a great country, if only we can allow them to exercise the authority that God has given to them by bringing them to where they live. So I belong to one of those who believe that we need to look at Nigeria. Are you calling it restructuring, re-engineering, rejigging, reinventing, whatever name? The system is not working well. And any system that does not well, be it personal, group, you need to do some re-engineering, some rejigging, some restructuring. We must do so. And the essential opportunity is to reset our federation. Our federation is like an inverted pyramid. An inverted pyramid is standing on its peak. And when a pyramid stands on its peak, it's unstable. Nigeria is unstable. We ought to bring the pyramid on its base, where the constituent groups will donate power to the center. You know, not the power, not the center donating its power to the federating units. That's why that's not a federation. So it was a federation until 1967, 66. The military turned it upside down, and it is not. We must bring it to a federation. There's no denying it. You know, if anybody denies that, is denying reality. So we will allow states to develop their minerals and pay royalty to the center. Every state will be free and guarded by the laws of the land to be able to generate resources that will benefit the state and benefit other Nigerians. That's the way it was done in the 6063 Constitution. And Nigeria didn't lack resources to carry out its duties as the central government. We'll work towards that, but it's not going to be by my decree. Nigerians are going to agree together how to get this done. The issue of relating to each other. For me, I am a technocrat. I'm coming to this with a very pure intention to contribute my quota. Now, I wouldn't be president by all means. I'm not going to be president by all means. It's going to be by the agreement of God and the people of Nigeria. And my desire is to get a country that is working and working for everybody. If this country was working and working for everybody, Mazi Sam will not be on this call today. So whoever wins or whoever God has given the opportunity, I think it behoves on everybody, just as I've done all my life. I write books, I write newspaper articles, I contribute to conferences, I go to summits, all in an effort to make my views known and to support whoever is in power. So to conclude, again, I want to say thank you. I think we have never had a better opportunity than we have it today to put in government a leader or leaders that are enlightened leaders, leaders that are visionary, leaders that are competent, leaders that are courageous, and leaders that understand that the greatest resource a nation has is human resource. It's the people, that everything about governance is about people. And your job as a leader is to improve their lives. Take them from a state of lower self-worth, a lower state of dignity, a lower quality of life. You move them steadily to a state of higher quality of life, higher dignity, and higher self-fulfillment. If we didn't do that, we can build all the bridges and all the road junctions and all the flyovers, and then we still have unhappy Nigerians that cannot compete with the rest of the world. Nigeria will want to compete so that all of you who are abroad will come home and set up businesses and be part of developing Nigeria, and you feel safe in so doing. I welcome you to the new Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That is a very fine place to leave it. Again, once more, it has been my pleasure to have you on this one-on-one conversation. My guest today, still Mazi Samuel Ifanyuchukwu Ohuabunwa, OFR. He is a pharmacist by profession, a politician by choice, and also a business executive. He is the founder and the former CEO of NIMET Pharmaceuticals. He was the former president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria and currently a presidential aspirant under the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. A very fine place that we will leave this conversation. Join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. Nigerian time, 5 p.m. UK. We will continue with this series. Last week, we had a conversation with Mr. Peter Obi, and this week, we have this conversation with Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. Join me next week. I will be having this conversation with other candidates as well in the upcoming presidential election. I will have the privilege to have someone like Malik Ado Ibrahim from Kogi State, someone many of you also know very well, in the person of Professor Kinsley Mogalu. That will be on the 20th of February, and Chief Dele Mamodu, that will be on the 27th, and Professor Femi Olufemilade, and many more. Watch out on this platform, as many of these programs will be coming your way. I am still your host, Mazi Ezoke. And on that note, I will say thank you everyone for being part of this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
So now you could